G'day, folks. Welcome back to Monday Down Under. Peter here, joined by Shane again. G'day, Shane. How are you?
G'day, Peter. Pretty good, thank you. And yourself?
Oh, living the dream, as always.
You and me both, mate. You and me
Oh,
both.
keep telling yourself often enough, you might even start to believe it. I'm still waiting for that to happen.
Oh,
How's your
yeah.
week been?
Yeah, pretty good. Only been a 3-day week, which has been quite nice, but busy enough. Just trying to get the regular valets out on Wednesday and Thursday. Had a little bit of time to do a bit of service work yesterday. It's quite interesting, actually. I went to a service job and this lady said our chlorinator, she used the word blew up, which I thought was quite, this should be quite interesting to see. As I got there, it's a very old style chlorinator, literally right next to the MPV. And what she had done is added flocculant into the water. And as she put it on recirculate, I think the spider gasket inside the MPV may be faulty. So a lot of that water was getting into the actual filter as well. And it sounded like it blew off one of the unions on the MPV and sprayed water all of the underside of this chlorinator, which she said it just, it sounded like a big explosion right in front of her face. So she was very lucky in that sense. Another funny thing was she was saying that the chlorinator was 19 years old. So I took a couple of photos of it and I posted them on the Facebook pages to see if anybody can beat 19-year-old and 19-year-old chlorinator. Apparently it was still working. It was still gassing up last year after the husband cleaned the cell, and it's kegged. I mean, it looks like icing on a wedding cake if you look
Yep.
at it. It's
Yep.
quite amusing. So yeah, that was quite an interesting job yesterday.
Yeah, we still see some of the old chlorinators. Oh, they'd be from the 80s, late 80s from time to time.
Yeah.
There's a particular brand that they got bought out about 16 years ago, but prior to them being bought out, when the family that owned them still ran operations, their quality was just off the charts good for the time. And yeah, so 19 years, we quite commonly see them at that age. The oldest one I've seen would have been 3-4 years ago. And I think it must have been from the early 70s.
Wow.
I've got a particular supplier, one of my distributors, and the guy's a walking encyclopedia of Australian pool equipment. And I thought, stuff it, I'm going to try to trick him. So I took the front case off this chlorinator. It was a tiny little thing, no cell, that had long gone. Took the case off, took a photo of the internals. I said, hey, can you get parts for this? And he gave me a call, sent him a photo of it. He gave me a call and he said, oh, yeah, that was this make, that model. That company was owned by such and such, first and last name. I forget it now. He sold the business in that year or closed down in that year. It was a trick question and he bloody knew the answer. Either that or he was bullshitting very convincingly. But no, he knows more about Australian pool equipment than just about anyone I know.
Yes.
He's been in the game 50 years.
Yep.
So
You expect them to.
Yeah, but interesting topic you raise about the union on the filter blowing off and causing damage to other equipment. I have in fact blown up a chlorinator cell many years ago when I just started as a technician.
Right.
I put a heap of chlorine in the skimmer box because that's how people did it back then.
Yep.
Went through obviously, and it was a lot of chlorine. Went through obviously mixed with chlorine being produced in the cell, and the chlorine's reacted. That's all I can put it down to. And it just literally blew apart the cell housing. Yeah, so I learned that one the hard way.
Yep.
Some of the other interesting things I've seen. If you look at an MPV on a media filter, a lot of them have nuts and bolts holding the top part onto the body of the MPV, if you know what I mean. I always check them for signs of corrosion, because if they start corroding, they're going to be reducing in their tensile strength.
Mhm.
I know of 3 filters. One was my brother's filter, one was a customer's filter, and one was it was in an industry journal over here, a couple of years ago maybe, where it showed a photo of a technician who'd started up a filter. The bolts had failed. Everything had shot off, and he had a big gash across his cheek. It was very, very close to his eye. So I always check that. And when I do an inspection on a pool before settlement of the property, so someone's bought a house, they want the pool checked out first. If there's an MPV, if there's a media filter, that is one of the things I always check and put on the report, whether there's sign of corrosion or not. But a lot of people don't seem to look for that. I just think it's a major safety hazard.
Yes.
So it's a lot can go wrong with a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, sure can. So yeah, after she explained to me what had happened, found out that as the water got into the underside of the chlorinator, it actually burnt the plug, the pump plug, which plugs into the bottom of it, and it almost looked as if a rat or a mouse had taken a bite out of one of the pins from it. So we couldn't use that pump anymore. Luckily, she bought a backup pump the same time as she bought that one. So we got the other one plumbed up. But yeah, it took me 4 attempts to backwash, rinse, backwash, rinse, backwash, rinse, backwash, rinse this filter and kind of get it, semi-clean enough to get it up and running. A little bit of circulation going through, but yeah, she's going to need a new filter.
Once you get flock in that media or in a cartridge, it is a mongrel to remove completely.
It is, yeah.
Really, really difficult to get that out of there.
Yes.
So the old chlorinator, you just throwing it, or what are you doing with it? Or leaving it there?
No, this one is it's still on site at the moment. I'm due to go back here on Tuesday, because when I was there initially the first time, it was last Tuesday, and I got back there yesterday. So the pool had been off for a while, so there was a lot of flock in the bottom, and now the pool started turning green. So managed to get the flock out. We shock it. We get a little bit of circulation going on. Tuesday I return, and she's in 2 minds in which chlorinator to pick. But once she picks one, this one will be coming out. Recycle wise, take out the transformer.
Yep.
Keep hold of that one for recycling purposes. But in regards to the rest, I don't think you're going to be able to recycle too much more. Maybe the housing on the cell itself.
Okay.
Try and handle that one.
Interesting point. I recycle most part or a lot more than just the transformer.
Right. Okay.
I cut the cell plates off the little plastic thing at the back. They go in a pile for mixed metals.
Right.
Transformer,
okay,
of course. The power cable and the cell cable, they've got a lot of copper in them. And a lot of recycling places will accept just a big box of cables. You don't have to strip it. They organise that. I just like to recycle as much as possible. It does give me a bit of beer money. You don't get rich off recycling. It's taking stuff to recycling. But it's also something I don't have to pay for waste disposal on.
Yes.
And I generally, as a rule, take away old equipment that I replace. And I get a lot of business from that. I've had people call me saying, the first thing they say is, when you replace equipment, you take the rubbish away, don't you? The number of times I've been to backyards where there's an old filter or something sitting there that's been removed, but they haven't taken it. How many people, who don't have a service vehicle like you or I, how many people out there have the capacity to dispose of a 25-inch media filter? It's a big, bulky thing for them to get rid of.
Yes. Yeah.
But other things we recycle when I replace a pool solar blanket, the bubble blankets.
Oh, okay, yes.
Places now that recycle those. One of the local councils takes them for recycling. One of the pool blanket manufacturers over here, they take old blankets for recycling.
Yes.
because they can be a bulky thing. They really fill up the dumpster pretty quickly.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. No, that's very handy to know. Actually, I should speak to my company, which I get the pool covers from as well.
Mm,
So this is definitely something I would need to speak to them about, because that's a huge amount of material going into a landfill at the
yeah,
same time, you know. So if they can't recycle it, yeah, everybody's happy.
yeah, it's fantastic. Pumps, of course, pump motors.
Yep.
Uh, I'll
We
also
recycle pump motors.
scavenge some of the equipment like pumps for spare parts. For example, if the basket and lid are still in good condition, I'll take them off.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a big box of parts that's probably going to be sitting there till I retire. But
Now, one basket will
it,
come in handy one day.
especially if it's an old style pump which is no longer
Yes.
available or no longer has parts available for it, can get
Yeah,
you out of a
definitely.
squeeze. The other thing is if I replace a pump that's still working, I'll keep that as a service pump. If I need to take a pump out for a vac to waste, for example, I'll just keep that thing running until it dies.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't cost me anything, so
Yep.
that's the handy one, and then it goes off for recycling.
Yes. Yep.
Now you were talking about PVC recycling. I'm not wasn't
Yeah.
aware of that until you mentioned it.
So there, in New Zealand, there's three main companies, Marley, iPlex, and RX Plastics. So they're having to now take responsibility for their products at the end of their life. So there's four areas in New Zealand where you can take your old PVC, you know, your pipe, your fittings. It does need to be washed, it does need to be cleaned, but they will take it off you free of charge. And then they'll break it down, recycle it. Um, I, I haven't actually done it myself yet. We haven't been busy enough to actually rip up, you know, 30, 40, 50 feet of pipe to dispose of. You know, it just seems to be the odd little bit here and there when you're installing a pump.
Mm.
But hopefully, as time goes on, we get more guys on the road. This is definitely something that we're going to think about going forward.
I'll look into
Um,
that because iPlex is, well, I've seen their products over here.
mhm.
Don't know where their office is, so no, definitely have a look into that one.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Mm.
Um, the interesting thing that I found on their website as well is the composition of it. So they're saying that PVC is actually made from 56% salt and 44% fossil hydrocarbons, which is oil and natural gas.
Mm.
So I found that very interesting myself.
I knew about the
Um,
hydrocarbons, but didn't have a clue about the salt
mm,
used in its production. I use PVC every single day. I just know nothing about how it's
yeah,
made, so
yeah.
that's an interesting one.
Mm. In regards to, I mean, you were saying that there's no facilities over there that you're aware of. So
Not that
at the
I'm
moment,
aware,
that
but I will
just
look
goes
into it
in. Mm, at the moment, that's in landfill.
pretty much. I'm trying
Yeah,
to stop that.
yeah,
Um, Other things I do are sometimes a filter. When we remove an old media filter, I just get a recip saw, Sawzall, I think they call them in the US, uh, cut a big hole in it, shovel the stuff out into bags, or the old media into bags, take them away,
yeah.
or throw them in the garden. I did use shop vacs, the wet dry vacuum cleaners.
Yes.
I just find they rust out too quick because most of our pools are salt. And even if you get onto rinsing it, I was just replacing too many vacuums that had rusted out.
Oh, really?
Even with the stainless steel, it'll still rust, of course.
Yes.
But I had one customer who he loved gardening, but he was too tight to pay for anything. So when I removed his filter, he wanted the bottom of the filter kept, wanted me to drill some holes in it for drainage, and he used that as a plant pot. And so for a long time there, he, whenever I had a filter that I removed, I just cut it off, cut the top half off, put a couple of holes in the bottom
Yep.
half, and drop it off at his place. And he'd give me a few dollars for that.
Oh, there you go.
And they're a good size for planting stuff.
Yes. Yep.
You'd want to make sure it's pretty thoroughly rinsed, though, if you're going to grow your veggies or something you're going to eat in it. You'd
Mm,
want to clean
yep.
that out good and proper.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
Another thing
And
I do is the 20-litre chlorine and acid drums. They can be exchanged when you buy a new one.
Yes.
So first time you buy it, you pay a bond on the bottle, take it back, swap it over for a full one. 20 litres, I'm guessing, is about 5 gallons at a guess. But a lot of other chemicals like flock or clarifier or algicides, you can't take them back for exchange. There are a couple of places that recycle them, but one thing I do with those is lay them on their side, cut the top off, or one side off, which is now on the top, and that's what I use for storing all the fittings in the truck.
Okay, yeah.
It's cheaper than buying a plastic tub, and again,
Yes.
something less in landfill.
Yep, yep. No, it's similar over here as well. A lot of the chemical companies, they'll reuse the chlorine drums.
Mm.
Yeah, the 20-litre ones. Again, yeah, you pay a deposit on them. Once you return them, you get that one. You get the deposit back.
Yep.
So they credit your account. Unfortunately, it's just chlorine that my supplier is taking. When it comes to litre bottles of flock or anything like that, then luckily we can just wash them out and add them into the local recycling.
Yep.
I think it's grade 1 and 2 that they can recycle over here with no problem. New Zealand was shipping a lot of recycling over to Asia. I think that stopped during COVID, so I don't know if that's taken off again now. The world is kind of semi back to normal.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Although I have had a big surge in customers telling me, and some friends telling me in the last few weeks, that they've tested positive for COVID.
Oh, yes.
So there seems to be another little bump up in numbers again in WA at the moment.
That's the same in New Zealand for about the last month. Yeah, the cases are increasing day by day. So there's another wave coming in. But I think it is possibly new. So Australia made it a little bit harder for their borders now. If the people were coming from certain countries in Asia, they need to check. They need to test negative.
Yeah, the government got in a bit of a political argument with the opposition just in the last week or so, because they've made a policy that anyone coming from China has to test negative. Right. And the Chinese are saying it's unfair, and Australians are mixed on it. It's politics. It's yeah. But we in Western Australia during the peak of COVID, we had it. We were completely shut off for a very long time. But we had very, very few cases of COVID here, way less than the global average. But then when borders opened, it came up anyway, and when rules were made more lax, then we had a bit of an outburst. But hopefully we'll never see something like that again.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
There was another interesting job I had this week as well. One of my regular clients, 2 weekly. As I approached the pool, do you ever get when you come to a pool? I mean, they had the cover on, but just something doesn't seem right. You open the gate, something seems a little bit offish, and I noticed that some of the walls, just looking down the sides of the covers, were green. Go up and have a look at the equipment and the pumps. All the equipment's running, but there's no water flow going through into the pump. So we've been having quite bad weather here this week.
Yep.
A lot of wind, a lot of rain. So first impressions were, well, skimmer basket's probably blocked up. So I got down to the skimmer basket. Skimmer basket's floating. Seemed a little bit odd. No leaves, nothing in there.
Hmm.
And the
No, they've all skimmer basket floated, so all the leaves have gone through to the pump basket.
stuck in the line. Um, Somebody had taken the weir, or maybe the weir door fell off, or they had taken it off, and they put it on backwards. So you know, as the
Yep.
as your pump turns on, your weir flap opens, starts pulling in the water. When it turns off, it hit, on certain skimmers, it hits that little lug at the top.
Yes. Little stopper.
Yeah, so the weir door was on the opposite side of the lug.
Yep.
So there was no way of it pulling down as the system's turning on. So yeah, that was a little bit annoying at the
Yeah.
time. Unfortunately, the clients they went down to Queenstown for Christmas. Beautiful, beautiful part of New Zealand down in the South Island. They got family there, and they gave the keys to friends and family to look after their property while they were away. So something's happened in between.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a little bit annoying. I haven't seen that before. Somebody's put the weir door on backwards.
I've seen it done. Uh,
Really?
Fortunately, caught it very quickly. One customer said, "Oh, I've just put this back on, and it's not working. What do I do?" There's no
Mm,
water going to the pump, so I got them to send a photo. And yeah, they put it back in the day. We used to, before we had PVC skimmer boxes, they were molded into the pool, especially fiberglass, which is dominant over here.
mm,
And there was this little weir door you just fix in with 3 screws, and you'd put a little rubber doorstop on each side, about 3/4 of the way up the door. Little rubber doorstop, same as you probably find in your house or in an office. And yeah, they just put those in, pushed the weir door forward, so into the pool to keep it out of the way while they screwed these door stops back on. And
yes.
yeah, did it the wrong way. But fortunately, they caught it early. Otherwise, you burn your pump out, your pool goes
Yep.
green. It's a whole myriad of problems.
Mm, yep.
That's one thing I've never recycled, weir door. But maybe if there's a PVC, a lot of them are made from a PVC, so that's an idea.
Yeah. Mm,
One thing that I don't see a lot of capacity for recycling is some of the automatic cleaners, though.
right.
Robotic cleaners, they've got some metal parts and wiring in it for what it's worth. Oh, also with your chlorinators, anything
Mm.
like a PCB, any sort of computer board, there are places that take those for recycling.
Ah, okay. Yes. Mm,
So what I
yeah.
do, I've got a 7 by 4 foot trailer, and in there I have, a pile of pumps, chlorinator parts, box of cables, mixed metals, all that sort of stuff. And when the trailer gets full, then I just take a trip up to the metal recycling place.
Yes.
And of course, then the other stuff gets handled differently. And I've got a skip bin for cardboard, because the amount of cardboard packaging that we produce, that we go through, is just
Mm,
insane.
yep. Yep.
That's my morning this Sunday. Going to be coming to the
Breaking the
workshop,
boxes down.
breaking the boxes down, throwing crap into the skip bin that can't be recycled. Other stuff will be thrown on the trailer. So I can think of about
Yes.
1 billion better ways to spend a Sunday, to be honest. But
Yeah, yeah.
has to be done.
Well, it's good that you're being proactive, with your recycling.
Hmm.
I do see a lot of companies over here, they'll chuck, whatever the issue is, whatever's broken, it'll just go straight into the rubbish bin, and away straight off to landfill, regardless of whether it can be recycled or not.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think as a nation and probably as the world in general, I think we can all be a little bit more proactive in recycling, just the way the world's going at the moment.
Yeah, I think there's going to be increased requirement, increased legislation about it as well.
Mm,
Like you've explained in New Zealand with the PVC pipe, manufacturers of products or materials are being held more accountable.
yes.
So I think it's inevitable. And we've also started adopting the system in Australia for any drink containers, or most drink containers. So your water bottle or your Coke can or your beer stubby.
Yes.
Um, there's you take them in and get 10 cents back for it.
Oh, yes. Yep.
So
A
you
lot of
see,
countries in Europe that do that
I
as well.
believe so, yeah. And then they either wash them or break them down. I don't know. Some of the bottles end up as media filter media. Most of the
Oh, the
media filters
glass
I do
ones?
have got the crushed
Yes.
glass in it. So
Mm,
that's
that's
an
right.
interesting one. You can see your Heineken green and your Swan Lager brown and your Corona white.
Now you can literally say you're swimming in it.
I'll pass. Yeah. But the other types of auto cleaner, apart from a few little parts in robots, the suction side and pressure side cleaners, don't see a lot of recyclables in those.
Mm,
I've got a big pile
yeah.
of old cleaners that, again, probably going to be there till I retire.
Yes.
Most of them are that worn out. The parts aren't really worth anything. So, going to see what we can do with that one.
Would that be, I guess, some form of thermoplastic? Maybe like the material on these?
I think it would depend on what make and model cleaner it is. A few of them
Right.
have got very different materials. I mean, you get the traditional type that everyone associates here. The common name for it is Creepy Crawly,
Yep.
being one of the main brands. But it doesn't matter what brand, people still call it a Creepy Crawly. You can have
Yep.
a Pentair robotic. Pentair's a bad example because they're affiliated with Creepy Crawly in the USA. You can have a Maytronics robotic cleaner, a Dolphin. People will
Hmm.
still call it a Creepy Crawly.
Right. Okay.
Went to one job the other day. She said, "Oh, I need a new pump." And I said, "Send me a photo of the pumps." And she sent me a photo of the chlorinator. It's like, right, take a photo of all your equipment and point to the bit that needs changing. So that's always an interesting one.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the traditional ones with the big rubber skirt on the bottom of it,
Yes.
I call them dugga duggas because as they move around the pool, you hear them going
Mm,
dugga 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 dugga. Drives me
yeah.
up the
Yeah.
wall. But um, they've got that big rubber part on it. That may be recyclable. The hoses, that'd be the good
Yep.
one to be able to recycle because so many of
Yes.
them end up split because people leave them out in the sun all the time.
Yes.
Uh, if they don't maintain their pool chemistry, they get corroded, they get perished in the water.
Hmm.
So that'd be a big one.
Yeah, definitely. In regards to cleaners
Yeah.
in Western Australia, do you find there's more common ones out there, or is it a split, between suction, pressurized, robotics?
Okay. Pressure side cleaners coming out of the
Yes.
return to the pool, we just don't see them very often here. I think
Mm,
I've seen two in the last 10 years, if that, maybe
right.
longer.
Okay. Yes. Yep.
A lot of suction cleaners, the rubber skirt style, also the ones with wheels or tracks or whatever they may be.
Yep.
You've got your dominant brands, but also a lot of little brands with them.
Hmm.
In fact, with the rubber skirt type, Aldi, the supermarket kind of
Yes.
chain, once a year they have their suction cleaner with a big rubber skirt on it. They sell for something like $100, and people buy them like crazy. And I often get the phone call, "Oh, I bought this cleaner. Can you get it working for me?" Well, I can't guarantee it. I
Yeah.
don't even know if it's compatible with the rest of your equipment. What's your flow rate? Uh, what's the size and shape of your pool?
Mm,
Uh, some pools' size and shape simply limit it to a robotic cleaner being all that's suitable. I've had quite a few of those.
yes.
But we're seeing a lot more robots now than we used to. They're becoming more and more common. The main
Hmm.
factor making them an obstacle to some people are their price.
Yes.
You get some fairly cheap ones. Fairly cheap here is sub $1,000,
Yep.
and I don't know. They just don't seem to last. They don't seem very well made. The ones I sell normally hover just above 2,000 for my preferred brand.
Right. Yep.
Some of them you can spend $3,500, $4,000 on. And then of course you go to the commercial ones. Uh, Done a few recently for commercial pools, 3,500. One a while ago, just shy of 9,000 for one of the big double-sized ones. That was an enormous pool, though. That
Right.
was about a half Olympic size pool.
Yeah.
Seeing I normally do residential, that's much bigger than I normally face. But no, it's nice and clean. Didn't have to worry about doing anything else other than taking the cleaner and throwing it in the pool. My kind of job.
Easy.
Yeah. And what about New Zealand?
I do have one client, a regular, which has one pressurized cleaner, and it's literally the only pressurized cleaner that I've ever seen.
Okay.
In 7 years of doing this job, so I can probably say the same thing as yourself. They're few and far between. This exact one, it doesn't. I don't know if it's the brand, but it doesn't really seem to do a very good job, to be quite honest with you.
Yep.
Whether that's just down to being a pressurized cleaner compared to a suction cleaner, I find that the suction cleaners they do a pretty good job, to be fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, suction cleaners, there are quite a few out here. The ones with the wheels on the side, the two big tank wheels, they've
The
made,
Rebel 2 or something like that by Pentair.
yeah,
Yep.
Swim Clean and ATV, I think they are
Oh, yep.
over here. And yeah, in the last few years, they've definitely exploded. Prior to this, it was the Dugga Duggers.
Dugga Duggers. It's a good word. You'll use that for the rest of your life.
Yeah, there was so many of them on the market. But yeah, again, in the last couple of years, there's been whether that's down to COVID as well, there's been a huge demand in robotic cleaners.
Yeah.
And I'm finding it's more new pools which are being installed. It almost comes as a package with them. So yeah, it's probably the similar in Australia as well.
Exactly the same.
Yeah, I do like them myself. They're very easy. Yeah, chuck them in the water, press play, let it do its thing.
Yep.
The great thing about them is you don't have to rely on any of the swimming pool equipment.
Yes.
So it makes it perfect. Found a lot of the suction cleaners, the Dugga Duggers, they would, certain style of pools, they would get caught in the step corners.
Yes.
They would get wrapped around the steps, your stainless steel steps, which are going over the side
Yes.
of the swimming pool. So there was many, many, many clients which would say, how do you fix this? Like, I don't think you can, I've changed a cleaner or take your steps out.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. I always look at like any equipment, always look at the best interests of the customer. I want them to be happy, so they tell their friends that they're happy with what I did, and I get more business that way. It's a very simple way of looking at it.
Yeah.
But two of the things I look at with cleaners, suction cleaners often won't work where you've got a skimmer box and a main drain with no valve before the pump to divert suction. And I've seen that a few times, especially on older pools where they didn't seem to consider that. Those ones as well, using a manual suction vacuum, they make it pretty tricky for that as well. You just don't have the flow coming through the vacuum.
Yes.
The other thing is they will block the skimmer because you've got something plugged in. So what I find is that debris lands on the surface. The jets are trying to push the debris towards the skimmer, but it's not going in there. So it gets waterlogged, sinks again. It's like trying to vacuum the carpet in your house while there's dust blowing in the window. Exactly the same situation.
Yeah.
Where I do, and robotic cleaners, of course, they improve circulation dramatically.
Yeah.
I also like it under a solar blanket. I should explain, in Western Australia at least, every new pool that's installed must be supplied with a blanket for evaporation. That's legislation. That's the rule.
Yeah.
So the blankets will often heat up the top few inches of water, but down bottom, it's still very cool. So the robotic cleaners really circulate and even out that water temperature.
Yes. Yeah.
Where I encourage people to go for a suction cleaner over a robot is if for some reason they can't physically lift the weight of the robotic cleaner out of the pool for cleaning.
Yeah.
And I've got some elderly customers who really struggle with, I don't know, some of them are around 20 odd kilos when they're full of water. They just physically can't lift that out.
Yes.
So a time and a place for everything, like all
Yeah,
things in life.
definitely. Yep. Yeah, definitely. I think for myself, one of the main factors to bear in mind is the amount of bush, trees, hedges
Yep.
that are around the swimming pool. Because as you said yourself, you to have a suction cleaner with that much vegetation around the swimming pool, it's a recipe for disaster at the end of the day.
Especially if it's a pool with a small skimmer basket.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
But I've found some of the suction cleaners, you get things like a long frond from a palm tree. It might be too much and get wound up inside the unit.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these palm trees that drop those horrible berries, they can get clogged in there. We've also got, do you know what a honky nut is? You don't know what a honky nut is, do you?
No,
That's a very
no,
Australian thing. It's a big nut that falls off some of the trees.
Yep.
It's kind of a
Like a
bell shape.
chestnut?
Sorry?
Like a chestnut,
Oh, bigger.
maybe?
They get
Is it?
a lot bigger.
Okay.
Various
Yep.
sizes out there depending on the species. But kind of a bell-shaped, very woody nut. And they fall down. If they go in and sink, then they'll often clog up the mechanism or just block the opening
Right.
completely.
Yep.
So that's, again, always look around the pool before you look at the pool, because you can find out so many things about what you might be dealing with. We've also got customers who have got stones, ornamental stones near their pool, and a lot of them, their kids like to pick them up and watch them splash as they plop it in the pool. I don't like kids throwing rocks in pools, and they should never be put anywhere near a pool for that very reason. But it looks good in the magazine. So the other thing I've done is pulled dead animals out of auto cleaners.
Wow.
Maybe we'll do that for another episode, talking about dead animals in pools.
Yep.
Because
Pre-warn everybody now.
yes, warning, it's going to be pretty gross at times, but so can being a pool tech.
True.
That can be pretty gross at times too.
True.
Anyway, as always, fantastic to chat.
Likewise, Peter. Thank you. Good to see you.
Have a fantastic week.
Yeah, we'll try. We
Yep.
can only try. You know?
It's raining over there. Is it going to be warm or?
It's warm, hence no t-shirt on myself. It's very humid. Christmas and New Year, the weather was fantastic. Just what you want summer to be.
Yep.
And was it last Tuesday? It just the rain started coming in. It hasn't really stopped. It sounds like it's going to carry on until mid next week.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's thinking summer's over. Bit of a British summer this year.
Yeah, well, it's forecast to be up around the mid to high 30s coming up for a few days.
Really?
Fahrenheit, that's 95 to 100 or thereabouts most days. The last forecast I saw. Blue skies, sunshine, hot. Yesterday afternoon, it came in overcast, quite cloudy, and I had about 3 drops of rain on the windscreen. I thought, oh, we're getting some rain, but no, we'll probably not have much, except for the occasional thunderstorm over the next 2 or 3 months, most likely.
Right, okay.
So anyway, enjoy that, and hope it stays warm and clears up for you.
Thank you.
All right. You have a great week.
Right. Cheers, Peter. Thank you. You take care. Bye-bye.
Right.